the presidents in South Africa, we've been going down since Mandela. It's just that at different times we're caught up in euphoria and we don't see that things are going wrong. It's like, New Year's Eve or Christmas.
Yeah.
You could celebrate and people are falling over from the balcony.
Yes.
So we've been there. It means we've been going down. I can't think of a point where philosophically we've gone up. Even during Mandela, we were at the height of the biggest compromise about our people. But we loved the man. We were tired. We were battle fatigued and everything looked right. We didn't even realize that white people loved Mandela but hated his race. We celebrated with him when he was singled out of us to be respected, when we were treated badly. We were unable to analyze that we had become slaves and our leader was a slave but a house one, loved and singled out from us, and we were insulted by the love shown to him and then disrespect to the black race. And so in a way, we celebrated leaders that I think were house niggers. And so we've not been able to analyze this because changing states do this. They create their own middle class. And the middle class is a group of people that come from the poor and become a buffer between the oppressor and those living in poverty. And most of us, you included and me, we are that buffer that keeps hoping that things are fine because you and me can live better. You have a double-storied house, and if you work hard, you will be fine. But actually, we are a buffer between an oppressive system and the ordinary people whose lives keep going down. So I think in both the judiciary and the entire political structure, we've been going down. And our leaders, Mandela in particular, great leaders, some of them, but they too, I think, suffered from an obsession with sainthood.
And do you think that this regression that you allude to was inevitable, or could it be avoided at all? Or is it a systematic regression that couldn't be avoided because of the political settlement that was reached in 1994?
Could be avoided. It could be avoided. The entire settlement, for me, was a problem. And people think I'm being ungrateful for the settlement. No. Every oppressive system in the world, even in biblical terms, the old systems do know when they have reached a cul-de-sac. And they have two choices. They usually extend the use of violence to suppress people completely, or they recreate themselves. And more sophisticated oppressive systems do what South Africa did. Apartheid is bad for capitalism. Apartheid is bad for white privilege. Not allowing black people to vote is bad for white privilege. So give them a few things that mean nothing. That was an old system, capitalist and oppressive white privilege system recreating itself.
Yeah.
It means what it did, I crudely, I call it the toilet spray syndrome. The smell was there. It was just, there was a spray. And our political settlement was to make sure that white privilege comes with credibility. And of course, that's why all of us, there's been more inequality since then. And we are on the side clapping when we are going into the grave, because they recreated the system, removed things that delegitimized it, but it remained there. You still live where you live. Your mother still shares water with the donkeys. You'll never get out of that place. The mines are still owned by the Beers and the Ruperts and everybody. We own nothing except a vote and hope for nothing.
Which part of the judiciary do you think is at the point, at a crisis point? I mean, is it the labor side of things, or like in the different sections of the judiciary? There's human rights, there's labor, there's whatever. These sections you would know better.
Yeah, it's difficult to do that because judges are hard and magistrates are hard at work as we speak, and they are. It's like asking a teacher who was teaching under apartheid whether they are working hard. They were. It's like someone who's feeding a baby. You can't accuse them of not feeding a baby, but depends on what it is they are feeding the baby with.
Yeah.
And so I think one of the problems is that because our philosophical outlook is entirely wrong, it doesn't matter how hard we work. So the judiciary is working hard maintaining a rotten system.
I get you.
So I can't say it's the labor. They are all working hard. But when something is wrong philosophically, when the fountain is wrong, is poisoned, it doesn't matter how hard you work to quench the thirst of those who drink from that fountain. If the fountain is poisonous, and I think our problem is that we just wanted to extend the old capitalist system and we're happy that we are voting. And that's why I'm not very keen on what I call electoralism, where we've become, political parties are competing for who must be in power next. There's no party in this country at the moment that would take over and things would change for our people, because they've all become part of the liberal electoralism, competing for who must be in power next. There's no party in this country at the moment that would take over and things would change for our people, because they've all become part of the liberal electoralism.
And what do you think is wrong with politics, our body politic,
It's because,
at the core of it?
It's because we have not agreed. You must first call out the problems. Mm-hmm. If you can't pronounce the problem you want to solve, you can't solve it. If you can't pronounce the diagnosis, and secondly, you can't pronounce the medication, it means, in South Africa, we don't want to declare that there is no way a post-colonial state can survive and do what it wanted to do within the confines of neoliberalism. And so I think we are too scared to declare that in a country where all the resources, natural resources, and all the resources were in the hands of a few, you need some kind of socialist arrangement with a heavy state that is well intended to distribute wealth. And of course, largely, those are socialist-oriented states. And I think our problem starts with our failure to declare that we can never liberate our people by maintaining the old wealth patterns. And so, if we can be, there's a lot of Mawande that we're scared of in South Africa, and it started in the 90s. When we remember June 16, we call it Youth Day, Sharpeville Day, we call it Human Rights Day. All of these things, it tells you that we were a people like slaves, like donkeys that were tied to a tree. We were so scared of calling things by their names, because while we wanted to change things, power from the white minority to the black majority, we actually wanted to please the white minority. And I think that governs us all the time in private spaces. And you go to Checkers now and speak to a teller and see if there's a white woman in front of you. The black teller will smile at the white woman and will be very stern with you. That is a very petty example, but it represents our politics about our fear of whiteness.
Yeah.
And I think we needed public education for black people to, there's a difference between coloniality and colonialism.